Hi and welcome back. Today I have a product review video, so I'm going to show you the Tonic Studios Team Holtz Comfort Trimmer. I'm going to show you what you can do with it and what you can't do. By the way, this was not provided by the company. This is not a sponsored video. I am just going to make this review because I got so many questions about it, and hopefully I'm going to help you decide if this is a paper trimmer for you. So this is a very compact guillotine. As you can see, it's very small, and it has a nice arm, and it's very lightweight. You can see that the arm goes up and down, and it has a nice grip on the side, and it's really easy to open and close. You don't need to add a lot of pressure. The blade is self-sharpening, and there is this plastic protector that you need to hold when you are cutting your paper, because it's going to help you protect your fingers, and at the same time it's going to keep the paper so that it doesn't slide. At the bottom it has 4 rubber feet, so it grabs nicely on top of your surface, and it's not going to move when you are cutting your paper, especially since I'm using this glass mat at the bottom. That is very important for me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the measurements. There are measurements at the top and at the bottom. They are both on inches and in centimeters, so perfect for all over the world. And you can slide your paper towards the top or towards the bottom, depends on what you want to do. In the middle there are a 1/4 of an inch measurements, and everything is engraved in the plastic surface, so they will never going to fade out no matter how much you use it. And on this surface there are also popular sizes that are going to help you a lot when you cut out your photos or your papers, such as 5x7, 4¼ by 5½, 4x5, and many more. And now let's talk a little bit on how big that guillotine is and what type of papers you can cut. So this is a 6x8½ area for cutting, and to tell you the truth, this is advertised as that, but you do get a 1/4 of an inch more than 8½, so that's 6x8¾ Now I have a letter-sized paper here that I would normally cut to create my card bases, and you will see that it's not possible for me to cut it lengthwise, which means that with this cutter it's not possible to create top folding cards. So keep that in mind, that you will only be able to create side folding cards with this. But as we move on with this review, I'm going to explain why I love this machine, and since I got it I keep using it again and again. But remember, this is not your all-in-one paper cutter. So I'm going to cut out the letter-sized cardstock to create a side folding card. I can easily find the marking there. I'm holding it with the plastic protector, mainly because if you don't hold it like that, it's going to slide. You will get a clean and straight cut every time, but make sure to make holding the plastic protector down a habit. Now I'm going to bring in a 12x12 pattern paper here, just so you can do the comparison. It's really compact, and it's definitely not for scrapbookers who do 12x12 layouts. Now, of course, you can use it if you are one of those scrapbookers who do project life albums, because you can keep it in your space area, and it's going to give you clean cuts on your photos as well. So this is great for this, but keep in mind that you will not be able to cut out the larger pattern papers. Now, in my opinion, this is a great guillotine to have on hand as your second compact paper cutter. I do have a couple that I'm going to show you, and I have even more in my stash, but I usually use the ones with the blade. So here is one by Tonic Studios and another one by Fiskars. They both have the same system. They work with blades, and since I am a heavy crafter, I cut tons of paper, and I find that these blades do dull a lot, and I have to replace them quite often. Now, they are okay if you want to cut out thin paper like pattern paper, but you need to change them more regularly when you use them to cut out thicker paper. I like to use 120 pounds of cardstock for my card bases, and I usually don't get a clean cut when my blade is not new. Now I have a blade here that is about a month old, and I will get a clean cut here, as you will see. but I would normally get frayed edges if it's a couple of months old. And it's always great to use guillotines in this case when you use very thick paper, but the guillotine that I already have is quite large. It has a handle that exceeds the main machine, and you will see a photo here. So I have it stored somewhere else in my craft room and I never tend to grab it. But it's definitely the big mama of paper trimmers, and if you want to invest on one machine for everything, then I would definitely suggest this. And I usually go ahead and use my blades for cutting out this paper with results that I don't really like. So this is why I invested to this smaller guillotine, because I think that it doesn't take a lot of space, it's very lightweight and it's easy for me to use every day. I find it very handy, but I will keep my other paper trimmer on the desk as well in case I need to cut out lengthwise one of my card bases. You can push your paper towards the top or the bottom and then use the handle. Notice that I always press the protector and I get a perfect clean cut, even though my cardstock, the one that I'm using at the moment, is 120, which is the thickest that I use. Now, since I have my other paper trimmers on the desk, I'm going to show you a little trick on how you can extend the life of your blades, even when they are not new and they give you a bit of a frayed edges. Just use a printer paper underneath and then place your paper that you want to cut on top. And again, this is the heaviest paper that I have, which is 120 pounds. I'm going to cut it. I'm going to get a perfectly clean cut, and at the same time it's not going to cut out the printer paper. I don't know why this works, but it does. However, I was a little bit fed out of doing this all the time. I had to change the blades all the time just because I cut out such a heavy card base, and I invested to the new guillotine and it gives me perfect results every time. The blade is self-sharpening, so I will never have to change it, and as far as now I'm really happy with my investment. And there is one more thing that you can do with a guillotine that is super difficult to do with the blades, and that's cutting out super thin strips. So I'm going to bring in this pink cardstock, and this is the normal cardstock that you would get, like 80 pounds or 100 pounds. And you will see that I'm going to cut out a super thin strip and I get a perfectly clean cut, very sharp and super easy to do. I don't think I can get thinner than that. And since this is a review and we are making the life of this guillotine harder, let's double the layers and try to cut out a thicker paper. I do have to push a little bit harder, but it goes through nicely, so you can cut out 2 cardstocks if you want to. And I did get a clean cut as well. And now I will go ahead and try to cut out through 3 different layers of cardstock just to test it out. And since this is a review, I always like to take this to the limit so you know what you are going to buy. I do have to press harder. It's not easy to do, it doesn't cut like butter, but it does the job. And it went through 3 layers of cardstock and everything is cut out clean and sharp. So remember that this is not a heavy-duty guillotine, this is a guillotine that was made with the card maker in mind, and it would go through 3 layers of cardstock. However, I do link to a heavy-duty guillotine in this video down below, and I also mentioned it previously. So it is going to cut like butter through pattern paper, and I'm just showing you here how easy it is to cut. And this is mainly why I decided to invest in this guillotine. Ease of use and super compact, perfect for my card making needs. And I'm going to try and add more than 1 pattern paper, so I am testing 3 pattern papers here, and I am sacrificing these beautiful pattern papers just to test it out. These come from a very old paper pad that I had in my stash, and now I'm going with 5 different layers. This time I just need to press a little bit harder, and it's going to go through beautifully. And again, I get nice clean cuts. So if you want to mass produce for your card making needs and cut out lots of pattern papers at once, it's great. To conclude, I would say that this is a great compact guillotine to have as your go-to everyday paper trimmer. You will not have to change blades since it's self-sharpening. And I believe you will find it very handy, especially if you have the other big paper trimmers that take up a lot of space on top of your desk. Now, on the other hand, if you don't have a paper trimmer at all, then I would suggest to invest on a bigger paper trimmer so that you can cut any size of paper, and then later on you can maybe invest on a more compact and handy one that you can even take with you on crops. You will find links down below to this guillotine as well as to the other paper trimmers that I went through in this video, and I will link to both US and UK online shops. I hope I covered up everything and I helped you decide if this compact guillotine is for you or not. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions on this trimmer, and I would also love suggestions on other products that you'd like me to review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.